Welcome back to the BHOPB Network in week 5 of the Weekly Huddle, where we talk about last week's games, this week's games, and hopefully a lot of recovery.
That's right.
Vance Johnson, Denver Broncos. Chris Jones, Philadelphia Eagles. McDonald, Oden-Cleveland Browns. And Sean Dykes, New Orleans Saints. And I'm Randy Grimes of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. I'm glad they have an off week.
Let's talk about Tampa Bay.
I'm glad they're off. I'm glad they get to heal those egos a little bit. And do we really want to talk about Tampa Bay?
I think we should.
You know, I still like the quarterback, but we talked about it earlier. I think he's trying to force big plays, and you just can't do that. Athletes, the game, everything's just too quick in this league.
Well, he's playing against Cam, too.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah.
He wanted to show out, didn't he?
He wanted to show out. And, there's a lot of pressure on that guy, I'm sure. And, I'm more disappointed in the way that the team is playing, though, and how they're holding up. And Lovey's a great coach. I know he's going to get them back on track. I know they have a lot of discipline, and he's a disciplined coach. He's a player's coach, and he'll get them back on track. So, Winston's just got to take baby steps. This isn't going to happen overnight. Mm-hmm. And
well, this is new. They have a new coach. They have a new quarterback. It's just going to take some time, and I'm sure the owners are going to be patient with them so they can put some things together.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change also. When Winston starts to play better, the team will rally around.
Of course.
I mean, he's the leader, and once he gets, becomes the little pressure, kind of leaves a little bit, and he begins to play a little bit better. I think you'll see a better team on the field, overall, once he gets himself.
And with that being said, I think it's time the defense steps up, too. Right. Defense is, something we don't talk about. All the focus is on Winston, but, the defense is going to have to. That's how you win games.
And speaking of defense, the Broncos' defense is just outstanding. I mean,
Holding Adrian.
Oh, my goodness. Adrian Peterson's a great running back, and whenever he's going to run the ball over 120, 130 yards, they're going to come up with a victory. But playing inside Denver, it's really hard to beat us against our fans. Mm-hmm. And, Kubiak is running great game plans. We have our guy out there, Peyton Manning, throwing the ball. He's making a couple mistakes, but the defense is always showing up, and there's not one play that the defense isn't showing up. And the defense is attributed to every victory we have this year for the Broncos.
And you know what? I love the fact that Wade Phillips is the defensive coordinator.
Oh,
I mean, that whole package. I like everything Denver brings to the table.
I thought Wade Phillips was retired, but it seems like every time he goes to a team, he was at Buffalo. I think he was at the Jets one year. And now he's back with the Broncos again like he was back in the 80s and the 90s, and we're winning ball games. He's fantastic.
He's tough.
But those Jets, man.
Well, once again, we cost the man his job, but they were, they went over, they played well.
Oh, Lord. It sure did cost his job.
It cost him his job, but it was a comeback, so I think it was really good on them, and that's always a good game anyway, the Dolphins and the Jets. It's always been one of those old rivalries in that division, so I'm glad we got the victory. Now we just got to move on next week and keep building on those victories we have and continue to, so we can be competitive later on. We got the Patriots, and you're going to see those guys again, and those guys are on the top of their game. So once again, we just got to stay competitive, stay healthy, and we'll be right in the thick of things when it comes down to it.
And their quarterback is outstanding this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to piggyback on what you mentioned, Sean, about the coach of the Dolphins getting fired this week, and which me personally, I knew it was going to happen, but I think, my personal opinion, one of the problems that they have is on the team they have no leadership.
They don't.
They have no leadership on the team. And one of the things that I was thinking about last night, they're paying these astronomical amount of money in terms of guaranteed money. Yeah. And there's no incentive for a player to go out and play. If I know that I'm going to get paid regardless of whether I perform well or not, then there's no incentive for me to go out and play well.
Is that what you're seeing in the league, though? I don't know if I completely...
Whether they're saying it in the league or not, I'm referring to individuals.
Okay.
Individuals.
So you're referring to Sue?
Well,
one of them. Yeah.
One of them, and also Tannehill.
Gotcha.
I've never been a part of a team that's given up.
Me neither.
During the season. I've never seen guys that have completely given up on a coaching staff, on philosophy, or everything that they have going or put in place to go the whole season with.
At least play for the job, right?
Yeah. And you know what? At this level, there's no excuse for what you're talking about. Guaranteed money or not, whether you're practice squad or first-round pick from the year before. you play with pride.
That's
You
an individual
always
thing,
play
yeah.
with pride.
That's
you
an
know?
individual thing, and I think as ball players, we can all relate that. We want to be competitive, and that at some point in time, the money is not even a factor. Yeah,
Not
we
a-
get good money. You just want to go out and you want to be competitive, and you want to.
When
play
you're
hard.
out on that field
That's right.
playing 50, 60, 70 snaps,
Yeah.
you don't think about the
Right.
money.
That's
But
right.
I think
You
go
think
back
about
to what you said.
performance.
Right,
true.
and I think about what you said with feeling losing control of the team. It goes back in a couple of years. I don't want to bring up old wounds, but when he happened to have that whole bullying thing, I think way back then is when he really
Lost
kind
the
of
team.
lost,
That's true.
respect.
Yeah.
Not that year, but the years to follow. Also, he's never gotten control back after that incident because that was a big national deal, and I think from that point on, he's kind of lost a little
But
bit.
what happened to your job, though? You
leadership.
still have to go in with a sense of urgency about, hey, I got to take ownership of my job.
Exactly.
You watch the
I'm
game.
responsible
As
for
we were
myself.
watching that game, you seen guys, you lose. I seen players that get their butt whooped on the sideline. What you smiling about? We losing.
Right,
You
right.
seeing Sue just smiling like, hey, I'm getting my paycheck.
Right,
Either we win or not. But hey, that's just letting you know they didn't ever respect the coach. So hopefully this intern that he can have people scared of their jobs. If they, how it was on Tuesday when they bring in players every Tuesday working out, seeing if your job on the line.
That's right.
So
That's
And
that's
Chris,
what they need.
Chris, that's one of the points I was talking about. Bringing in players who have these guaranteed contracts, they're not worried about getting cut.
That's true.
They're not. That's not a factor at all.
Right.
That's not a factor at all. So you can't put any fear in them about cutting them. See me on the bench. I'm getting my money regardless. The guaranteed contracts, they're hurting the game.
I think that's what they need, to be sat on the bench. I think you need to get their attention because that will
But
get their
see
attention.
me on the bench. I'll sit on the bench and make $60 million.
Come on, Matt. No, you won't.
Yes, I
not,
will.
not if
You're
you're playing
earning,
at that
man. You're
level.
earning.
Yes, I
You're
will.
wrong.
You're earning.
You
Yes,
really
I
will
will.
be grumpy cat sitting
Yes.
over there on the bench.
Well, I got to talk about my Philadelphia Eagles, the way we stunk up the place last week. I tell you, they really just break it down. I really wonder if they gave Chip Kelly too much power for this team because his decision making from top to bottom, they can't just get him out of there. No general manager can fire him because he got too much control. The only person can let him go is Jeffrey Lurie. And I don't see Jeffrey gonna make that move. But anyway, the mindset of DeMarco Murray, you see that. That's one thing we never did coming out of after a game. Hey, I ain't get enough touches. It's already just rubbing off. It's not a good look if you're in that locker room. We used to keep that in house.
Right.
So and then.
But are we to the point where we're talking about getting rid of Kelly?
No, I'm not saying that, but I know that a Texas job, I'm just playing devil advocate, it's a Texas job in college might be opening up.
No,
I can see him want to run on over there.
No. They're not going to get rid of Charlie yet.
But anyway,
They're going to give
and
Charlie.
then I'm looking at Sam Bradford. He looked lost at times because he should have had more preseason snaps. You bringing in a guy that haven't really played in almost 2 years from injuries, and he looked lost out there at times with the decision making. I would have Mark Sanchez in there. He been under that system for 2 years with Chip Kelly. But hey, I'm not the coach. That's why I'm here commentating about it. But it needs some sense of urgency real bad because I feel sorry for the fans in Philly right now. Because they deserve more, and they let this guy make all these decisions. So you got to remember when the last guy that had those type of decisions, he's at Alabama.
Yeah.
So, Cleveland?
Another loss. Right now, Cleveland's playing very poorly. And you really can't put your finger on exactly what the problems are. You say coaching, GM, lack of players. Right now, I think that Cleveland, they're in the cellar.
Yeah.
Players, they're losing confidence, and I don't see them coming out of the cellar for a while. Next week, they're going against Baltimore, at Baltimore, which I will go on record saying it will be a loss for the Browns.
Wow.
Right now, they are just not a top-notch team.
Right.
They're just not there. Whether you put in Johnny, McCown, whoever, the Browns don't have enough players to be competitive in the conference that they're in right now. Not at all.
You heard it from Mac right there, our Cleveland expert. We'll be right back.
Behavioral Health of the Palm Beaches Recovery Center for Men provides quality, evidence-based treatment to men battling addiction. Offering medical detox, expert counseling from licensed clinical therapists, and activity-based therapies, we help men overcome their addiction and rebuild their lives. We understand the unique substance abuse issues that men face and are ready to help you take your life back. Visit rehabformen.com to get your fresh start.
Welcome back. And one of the things that we do here at Behavioral Health of Palm Beaches, is especially the guys here at this table, is work with retired players. And Lord knows that we as retired NFL guys know the pressures that go on during the season. You know, not only the injuries, the amount of games played, the amount of snaps played, you know, all the different pressures that go on even outside the locker room, not to mention things that go on inside. You know, we can't help but to bring up what's going on with CC Sabathia, and not just him, but a lot of players. I mean, the season's long, especially the Major League Baseball season. Play a lot of games.
That's right.
You know, he's got a lot of starts. There's a lot of pressure on those guys. You know, they might not have the injuries, but yeah, well, I'll take that back because they do have a lot of injuries. But they have a lot of things that they're going through, and you know, they self-medicate just like NFL guys do.
Yeah. What's interesting is we were talking before the break that CC is actually reaching out and asking for help. Now, we don't know exactly what
During the season,
before
the
playoffs, but he's asking for help, and that's the most important thing. Myself, I didn't ask for help, Randy. I lied to you almost 3 months. So it's important that people recognize that he wants to get the help that he needs. Whatever reason, he wants the help. And there's so many professional athletes out there, and I would say in the thousands, whether it's football, baseball, or whatever profession, people who are struggling behind the scenes that aren't even playing ball anymore that need the help. You know, I've got a guy in Wyoming that's a pastor. Even pastors have a lot of stress on them. It's in the home, it's on the field, it's everywhere. The teachers, everybody needs help because this thing is epidemic and it's all over the country right now.
I think it's a very courageous move also, and I think what it does, it sends a great message for those who need help. A guy like this making tons and tons of money, you know, he's in the public eye and yet can cry out for help. So for the little guy who may be afraid to cry out, who don't have that courage, I think this would be a great thing for him to see in those young guys too. Hey, look at this guy. You know, he's in the limelight, but yet he says he needs help. And I think the way the organization is supporting him right now, at this time, on the brink of going to the playoffs, I think it's a great move, and it's a big move, not just for him, but I think for society as a whole. This
Sean,
is
that's
one
a
of this
great
caliber.
point.
That's a great point.
That guy is out there screaming for help right now. There are a lot of people that are behind the scenes, maybe looking at him. He probably helped more people knowing that they struggle with an addiction than watching the ball game cheering for him and striking someone out.
That's true. I really feel like the team gonna rally around him also, because that have been a comrade. He did help them get some championships over at the Yankees. I think that he's coming out with that, that's huge. And then probably a lot of the else athletes we know in the locker room who parties a lot and who has a problem quietly about that, whatever they're going on in their life. And I take my hat off to the guy, like you say, Sean. This is big for him, and I just hope that the guys that's in that locker room rally around that guy right now.
That's right. Brother, you had mentioned earlier, about the Cleveland Browns and about the guys that are getting this guaranteed money. What happens with them making so much money? What happens when they suffer with addiction? Who are they going to reach out to?
Well, you know, that's a good question, man. And the thing about it is, I think Johnny made a wise decision when he reached out last year and admitted that he had a problem. I think that was the first step. And quite honestly, I would dare say there's a lot of players that have problems, but they haven't taken that first step and admitted it. And we all realize that in order to get some sort of grip on this problem we have, we've got to take the first step. And that's meaning that we have a problem.
You know, and I'm stepping out on the limb here, but I know there are a number of professional athletes out there who are now part of society that even the fans or people that are watching our show right now are familiar with and or run into and know these athletes. Maybe they should reach out to them or even give us a call, Randy. We talk about that at the end of every show. Reach out and give us a call and let us know what they see out there so we can get out there and start helping these people who are struggling.
I think when you're talking about the athletes, these guys are still playing. I think a lot of it is they're afraid of retaliation from the front office or whatever. What the consequences are going to be. And I think what we saw even with the Yankees front office, they were very supportive. Both guys got on it, and they thought it was a courageous move. So once again, seeing that whole thing come together, get guys to say, hey, head up. Maybe if we go to our people first and let them know what's going on, we'll get that support also. Because guys are worried about their families. You know, am I going to lose my income if I go to my office? Am I going to get fired? So once again, I think that whole thing, we'll see how this thing plays out in the near future to see exactly what happens. And, hopefully it works out well, and more guys will start stepping up. And once again, they can reach out to us. That's what we're here for. And once again, we'll see how it plays out in the upcoming future.
I love to see how the fans be, if they're gonna be supportive or not, cause you know how that city is. They want to win.
They're going to support them. They're good people. All up and through there. But you can only hide it for so long.
Right.
That's true. You can only pretend for so long. And I know that current players, they have different issues than retired players. I know we work with a lot of retired players, and we see those guys come in, with injuries that have just gotten completely out of hand, with depression, with identity issues, with self-worth issues. Maybe not the same problems that current players have with chronic pain, with pressure, with all that. So if you need to get in touch with us, we all have Facebook pages, we all have websites, or you can go to bhpalmbeach.com or Athletes in Recovery, or if you're a retired athlete, retired NFL guy, go to Dana Lehan at the Player Care Foundation, or Major League Baseball, go to Sam McDowell at BAT, which is the baseball assistance team. As a former offensive lineman in the NFL, I battled some of the biggest, meanest guys that ever played the game. But nothing was harder or more rewarding than taking that first step into detox, that behavioral health of the Palm Beaches. And I know now what all those years playing professional football was preparing me for, and that was to give back this gift of recovery. Welcome back, and as you can see, I'm happy to amuse everybody here at the table. This is the segment of the show where we talk about this week's games, and this is usually where whatever I pick, do the opposite, if you want the correct winner. But we're going to start with Vance.
If you want to pick what I pick, you'll be right. So we're going with the Broncos at the Raiders. It's going to be always a tough game, even though the Raiders are struggling. They beat the Browns last week. Actually, they lost to the Browns.
That's a great rivalry, too, by the way.
A great rivalry. They lost against the Browns, but they're going to play really good against the Broncos. Broncos always have a tough game against our rivalry, the Raiders. We're going into a place that we hate to go into. The Raiders are struggling right now, although they have a lot of talent on the team. Broncos are playing good. I'm going to have to go with my heart, although I'm really worried about this one, but I think the Broncos are going to pull this one out by 3 points at the end of the game.
Oh, you're coming up with a score, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
3 points.
So I got the Saints coming in to the Eagles. The Saints is coming off a big win against the Cowboys. Seemed like Drew Brees got his groove back coming in. So hopefully that we can put something together, because the verdict is out right now on Chip Kelly. So we need to see if we can go out there and bring the Philly fans something good to watch. So I'm going to go with the Eagles by 3.
All right, brother.
And what about the Browns?
The Browns are going to Baltimore. Sadly to say, I feel as though Baltimore will beat the Browns. After Baltimore defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers last week in overtime, I believe, I think that was the momentum that they needed to get over the hump. I feel as though the defense is playing good, and Flacco, I think that he's going to begin to show exactly what kind of quarterback he's a good quarterback, and definitely Cleveland doesn't have the pass rush to affect him. So I think that it's going to be a long day for the Browns, and it hurts me to say that, but yeah, it's going to be a long day.
Well, my Jets are off this week. We got a bye week, but I am going to go with the game of the week, which will be the Cincinnati Bengals against the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's going to be a great matchup right there. I mean, you're talking about a Cincinnati team that's undefeated right now. They have great depth. They're playing really, really well. It's going to be an interesting game to see how they can contain, Russell Wilson in that Seahawks game. I don't know if Marshawn Lynch is going to be back. I know he set out last night, but this is going to be a very good game. I think this is going to be the game to watch. I think we're going to see some good competition. You got a good defensive mind, and you got a good offensive mind, and the coaches. It's going to be a great matchup right here.
Which is interesting because, I don't know if you know this, but you do if you watch last night's game, but the Seahawks offensive line, none of them were former linemen in college.
Really?
They converted every one of them either from a defensive player, like their left tackle is a former tight end, the center is a former defensive tackle. Because that offensive line coach is not happy with the type of talent coming out of college now in offensive line. So, the Seahawks really think outside the box. You can't contain Wilson. Right. That guy has some legs, and he's not scared. He's not scared to run. He always knows where the first down marker is, and I think the main thing is those guys enjoy coming back to the huddle. You know, they like having him there. They feel confident. They feel like he's in control, and he is. And that's the kind of guy you want to come back to as an offensive player.
That sounds like you're picking those guys then.
I am. I'm staying with them. Yeah.
Staying with Seattle?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you know what? I'm going to have to go with you. I've never been a real big fan of Cincinnati. I know that the Broncos always beat up on them when I was playing football, and I think right now Russell's playing really well. They started off a little bit slow, but you can't contain them like Randy said, and so I'm going with
Well, I'm
Seattle.
going to go with the Bengals on you guys. I'm going to go against you guys. I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
I
Because
agree.
they're hot. They're hot right now.
I agree. I'm going Cincinnati. Also, I think that Cincinnati, they're playing at home. They're playing great ball. Andy Dalton, he's playing with confidence. A.J. Green, this guy,
Yes.
no one's stopping him. And not to mention the running game that Cincinnati
1-2 punch,
are playing right now. And their defense, they're playing enough to keep them in the game as far as to win.
That's all you gotta do.
So I think that Cincinnati will beat Seattle this week.
Wow.
I'm going with Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals also because I feel like they have the depth on both sides of the ball. They're great on special teams. They really got some edge rushers that can rush. They're going to contain, I think, Wilson.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to stay with Cincinnati.
And we can't end this segment without talking about my mighty Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Got the Jags coming to town. Got an in-state rivalry. You know, I think this is an important game to a lot of people on both sides of the ball. You know, and it's going to be at home. It's going to be in Tampa. And I'm staying with my Bucs. You know, I just think that they're
Living down.
right on the verge. I am living dangerously. And I just think they're right on the verge. You know, especially this game. This could be their breakout game where all the pieces come together. So, you know, I'm going with my Bucs. It's going to be a great week of NFL football. That's for sure.
It sure is. So probably they should put our records right here and see who's
Yeah,
who's leading this thing
I was
right
hoping
now.
we weren't going to post that.
I'm guessing it's probably a tie between Sean and I, and so this is going to be separated this week when my Seahawks go in there and beat your guys.
Yeah, we'll see, man.
All right, brother.
Wow. Checks in the mail.
That's right.
Well, thank you for being here. And once again, I want to just emphasize that if you know of anybody that's out there suffering with this disease of addiction, reach out to us. You know, you can find any of us anywhere. You can reach us at bhpalmbeach.com. Find us at Athletes in Recovery, and we're here to help. We are the recovery team.